Hi, I'm Drew DeLucchi, and I'm 21 years old. I go to the University of Kansas, home of the worst football team in the nation and home of the best basketball team in the nation. I watch First Take every day. I actually was watching it just now on YouTube. You said to pick your best topic and your favorite sports theme, but I'll just cover a bevy of ones that you've covered recently. So, Stephen A. Smith, I was just watching it just now, currently said that there's no way there's 14 players better than Carmelo in the league. Well, I can easily name 14, and I probably could name more, but I'll name right now. I wrote down Damian Lillard, Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry, DeMarcus Cousins, James Harden, John Wall, and Paul George. And you can't say Paul George isn't better. Paul George actually plays defense, unlike Carmelo. Well, on the next topic, about the Cowboys. Stephen A. Smith says he's rolling with Dak Prescott. Why not just roll with Tony Romo when he's fully healthy? Dak Prescott, his wins have been some of the crappiest wins I've seen. He beat the 49ers, so what? He beat the Bears, so what? It doesn't matter. Romo, in the regular season, is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And you can't say, like, oh yeah, he's going to choke in the playoffs. The last playoffs he made, he was great. And I hate the Cowboys, but personally, that was a catch, and that would have led him against the Seahawks, and who would know what happened there? And worst comes to worst, if Romo gets injured, you roll with a hot Dak Prescott. So it's a win-win situation. Why not just start Romo? If he gets injured, so what? Go with Dak Prescott again. You have a plan B, and it's a win-win situation. So the next topic. You guys have been overdoing this when you guys were talking with Brady. And in the discussion with Brady, I have to agree with Stephen A. Smith. Not Max Kellerman, my bad. But I agree with Stephen A. Smith a lot of the time. But I have to agree with Stephen A. Smith only because if you look at Bill Belichick's work, and I'm a diehard 49ers fan, Giants fan, SF fan, but I think he's right up there with Bill Walsh as the greatest coach of all time. He has one of the best systems. He took a backup quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, who was never proven, and won 3 straight games with him. Who says Brady at age 45, all he has to do is just has to do what Bill Belichick says and stay in the system. Brady barely gets touched, and he's really never had to deal with diversity of injuries, except the year he tore his ACL, but that was around like 6-7 years ago. But Brady will probably be able to play till he's 45 in Bill Belichick's system and just throw slant passes to Edelman and a couple passes to Gronk, and he'll be perfectly fine. So the next topic I talk about, as you know, I'm from SF. So I'm probably the biggest Warriors fan you ever meet. I know everything about the Warriors, everything about sports. And yes, and I know we blew a 3-1 lead and I absolutely hate it. Personally, my thoughts about this new roster, I am really iffy. I think and it's coming from a diehard Warriors fan, I think the one thing about this roster is their bench depth. Stephen A. Smith says that, oh, it's over, the Warriors are going to the finals. I wouldn't say that so quick. The reason why I went to the finals the last 2 times wasn't because of our starting lineup, it was because of our bench. And we lost half of that. And team chemistry is most important. What happened to the 2011 Miami Heat? What happened to the Lakers back in 04? Exactly. You don't know what's going to happen. And another thing about what Kevin Durant said is, I'm just kind of iffy about it. I don't know exactly. But I think that he would have not left the Thunder if he would have beaten us, because I think personally the Thunder would have beaten the Cavs in the finals. And why would you, even if they lost, why would you leave to a team that you just beat in the Western Conference Finals? I wouldn't. Another thing about the Warriors season that I'm iffy about is I don't think we're going to win 70 games, probably like 65. But in my opinion, I think the one team in the West that I'm worried about is the Spurs. because it's Greg Popovich, and you never know what Greg Popovich is going to do. So now let's move on to some football. Football-wise, I think that the Bengals are done. Personally, because Andy Dalton is just struggling. That defense doesn't look the same. And I just don't see anything else they can do. I think the Raiders, they're not legit. They're eventually going to lose. They're going to bounce to that spell. Their defense is one of the worst things I've ever seen. They allow like around 30 points per game. Some of the wins are unclassified. The Ravens offense has struggled lately. The Chargers blow every lead possible. The Saints are absolutely garbage. I want to see them play. I know they're 4-1, but I want to see them play a real team before I can personally judge the Raiders. Currently, I think the best team in the league, I have to agree with Stephen A. Smith, is the Steelers. I know the Vikings. Vikings have a good case. They're 5-0. They have beaten good teams, but I'm iffy about the quarterback situation. I'm iffy when it comes to playoff time. Playoff time, everything is completely different, and defenses are more ready because they study way more film, and it's just when playoff scenarios for every sport, baseball, football, hockey, NBA, everything slows down and everything just changes. Regular season goes out the window. The reason I think the Steelers are the best team is because of that offense. I know they had the hiccup against the Eagles, but I think a loss of that, just like with a need, just like with Stephen A. Smith, the MVP of that game, MVP of the game against the Chiefs was the Eagles. I think that offense runs behind Le'Veon, and I can't imagine how the Steelers would do if they had Martavis Bryant. Martavis Bryant is one of the most underrated receivers. When healthy, he could easily be a top 10 receiver. I know that sounds crazy, but he could. He's 6'5", he has hands like no other, and he can jump. The Steelers also, the one thing I like about the Steelers is, I know their secondary is garbage, but I love their front seven. Shazier, fast, sub 4.4 speed. Cameron Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, Jarvis Jones, Moats, all of them are good. Lawrence Timmons, all of them are good, and I know the secondary is iffy. Mitchell's iffy, Golden's iffy, William Gay's iffy. The rookie Artie Burns, I think he'll be good, but I think they can eventually develop, and I believe in the Mike Tomlin system. So, lastly, what I talk about, as heartbreaking as it is, that epic Giants collapse. I personally thought they should have just kept Matt Morin. I know people say he had 118 pitches, but who cares? He pitched 143 earlier on in the year. And even they did put him in, he wouldn't, if they won, and they won Game 5, he wouldn't have pitched till the NLCS, which would have been like a week and a half away. I've never seen such a choke job by any team ever. I saw some Cub fans literally walking out of the stadium. I was prepared to post on Facebook the Giants won. I probably jinxed it. I'm not surprised. But I personally think that, yes, the Cubs won, but I don't think the Cubs are going to win at all. The Cubs are cursed. I got my money on the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are stacked. They have pitching, and they have power. The Cubs, they struggled all series against the Giants hitting. Their pitchers had 6 RBIs. I know they had that explosion at the end, but our bullpen blew 30 saves. You can't judge it based off with against the bullpen. Against their starting pitching, the Cubs did nothing. Their pitchers had more RBIs against their starting pitching than the Cubs lineup actually did. A reason I think the Blue Jays will win it all is because of Josh Donaldson, Encarnacion, Troy Tulowitzki, Jose Bautista, Russell Martin, Marcus Stroman. I can go on and on and on. The Blue Jays have power and pitching. I like the Cubs pitching. They have great pitching. But the Cubs pitching has looked iffy against us in the series. They've only really had one reliable star, and that was John Lester. Jake Arrieta struggled against us, and John Lackey struggled against us. I know Aroldis Chapman, he struck out the side in the 9th inning, but last time I checked, what happened in Game 3 where he totally blew a 6-out save? That's what I worry about Jake Arrieta, worry about Aroldis Chapman. what Charles Chapman does, and he hasn't really worked on, I don't think he's going to prove on because he's been in the league for multiple years now, is he tries to blow fastballs past people. And you saw Conor Gillespie did that fastball. He gave up 3 runs in 1 inning. That's what I'm worried about with the Cubs, is their closer and their other starting pitching. And their lineup strikes out a lot. Their lineup relies too much on power. And they're still young. I don't think it's the Cubs' year. I think in a couple years they might win it, but I don't think this is their year. I think the Nationals will win today. I may be wrong, but I think it'll be Nationals Blue Jays. I like the Nationals better because I believe in Max Scherzer more and to get it done. And I also believe in that lineup more. That lineup is more of a contact lineup than the Cubs. The Cubs rely. I know the Cubs in the 9th inning hit a lot of, they got base hits left and right, but Javier Baez strikes out a lot. Chris Bryant. Yes, Chris Bryant's amazing, but he can strike out a lot. Anthony Rizzo only had 1 hit all series. Jason Hayward just can't hit for crap. Contreras is still young. I don't think he's that good of a fielder. David Ross is old. Jorge Soler just relies on nothing but power. It just goes on and on. Ben Zobrist, he's clutch. But if I'm predicting right now, Blue Jays are 2016 champions, and I predict right now Cubs will win in 2018. So, if I'm trying to think of another topic I can talk about, to be honest, this is all improv, because that's what I need to prepare for. The only thing that wasn't improv is me writing down the list of names who I think are better than Carmelo. I want to talk in improv because you don't know what you're going to talk about in the debate desk if I eventually get on there. But I would love to school Stephen A. Smith and possibly Max Kellerman. But just I know every statistic about sports possible. I follow every sport, not just the Giants, Warriors, Sharks, and 49ers. My favorite player ever would have to be Joe Montana. I think he's the greatest quarterback ever. How about I talk about that? Joe Montana. I think he's greater than Brady. The reason why I think he's greater than Brady is because Brady won three Super Bowls, and his 4th one he was at, he lost to Eli Manning and the Giants when they went 16-0. I still remember when the Giants said that they're going to hold Brady to 17 points, and Brady laughed. Oh, look what happened. They held him to 14 points. That was one of the biggest collapses I've ever seen. Brady looked absolutely horrible in that Super Bowl. You only scored 14 points, and you went 16-0. And you averaged practically over around 20 to 30 points per game. You had Randy Moss, who had around 23, 24 touchdowns, and you still couldn't deliver. If Brady won 4 Super Bowls, and then he lost 2, then I would say he's greater. But the fact that he won 3, then lost 1, then won 1, I don't think he's greater. Because Montana won 4 straight. Right? So then Brady, on his 4th one, he didn't go 4-0. But if he went 4-0, I would say is another thing about Joe Montana that I think why he's greater is in 3 of his 4 Super Bowls, he beat the Super Bowl MVP that year. Boom Esiason, Dan Marino, and Ken Anderson. He beat the MVP of that year every year. And I remember one year, Montana, I'm pretty sure it was 1983, he went 15-1 in a year, and he went 18-1 going to the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure the only game he lost that year was against the Bears. But Montana was one of the most clutch quarterbacks of all time. He was named Joe Cool. In the Super Bowl against the Bengals, he was in the huddle with his offensive line, his whole offense. He said, "Oh, is that John Candy?" And there was like 1:30 on the clock, and they were trailing, and they were like 70 yards away from touchdown. Next thing you know, he throws a game-winning touchdown to John Taylor. The thing I like about Joe Montana way better than Brady is I know people say Brady is clutch, but Joe Montana delivered in the clutch way more than Brady. People give credit Brady for that Super Bowl, but I think Julian Edelman deserved that Super Bowl MVP against the Seahawks. Brady threw 2 interceptions still. Oh, I have a question. Look at Joe Montana's Super Bowl numbers. 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I don't know Brady's exactly, but all I know is he had 2 interceptions in one of the Super Bowls he had. And my personal opinion, Brady shouldn't have even gone to one of his Super Bowls. I hate the Raiders, but that Tuck Rule crap is absolutely bull crap. That Tuck Rule crap is bull crap, and I have a bunch of friends that love the Raiders, and they would even agree with me. I know I was young then, I was around 7 or 8, but I watched football then. I was old enough to watch football then. The one argument I can make for Joe Montana against Brady is that Joe Montana delivered with way less weapons than Brady did early on his year. People talk about how, oh, Joe had Jerry Rice. He didn't have Jerry Rice until after he won 2 Super Bowls. You know Joe Montana had? Dallas Clark. Oh, yeah, he was known for the catch, but he only went to 1 Pro Bowl. Freddie Solomon. And, of course, he had Roger Craig, too, but Roger Craig cost the 49ers from three-peating in 1990. And when he fumbled against the Giants in the NFC Championship game. And if he didn't fumble, we would have probably gone to the Super Bowl and three-peated. The only team that would have done that. Joe Montana was that close from three-peating. Overall, nothing can touch Joe Montana. I think the quality of Super Bowl wins for the 49ers are way better than the quality of Super Bowl wins for the Patriots. Yes, I think their best Super Bowl win is against the Seahawks. I think it's against the greatest show on turf. That was a great Super Bowl win. But then he beat the Panthers and Jake Delhomme. Then he beat the McNabb and the Eagles. McNabb was known for giving up in big games, and he gave up in that game. And another thing is he won all his Super Bowls by 3 points. He had to rely on Adam Vinatieri 3 different times. Joe Montana, no. All his Super Bowls, he relied on himself. He beat John Elway and the Broncos 55-10. I know you'll give credit to Joe Montana for having a great defense, but if you look at all his Super Bowls, he scored over 20 points in all of them. The Dolphins was 33-18. Broncos was 55-10. And people don't realize, but Joe Montana was part of an 18-game road win streak in the regular season and postseason. He, in the playoffs, when he was going against the Bears, when it was snowing and freezing, they thought they were going to lose. He shut out the Bears. So overall, Joe Montana, to me, is the greatest quarterback of all time, and there is no debate. I'm sorry, I put Brady as number 2 as the greatest quarterback of all time, and I put John Elway as 3, Peyton Manning as 4, and Johnny Unitas as 5. I'm sorry, but 4 known Super Bowls, you can't deny it, and don't tell me Terry Bradshaw crap, but Jay Bradshaw had the best defense of all time. Still Curtin, 9 Hall of Famers on one team. And Joe Montana, he was Joe Cool and was nothing but pure clutchness. Hate to say it, but Max Kellerman, he's not the greatest quarterback of all time, but I can agree with you guys with saying Bill Belichick would be the greatest coach of all time. I put Bill Belichick and Walsh on the same level. But the thing what Walsh did, he revolutionized the game. That West Coast offense. While Dan Marino and everybody were doing like, oh, we have to throw deep to go deep. We have to throw deep to get touchdowns. No, Bill Walsh was like, all we have to do is just do 9, 10-yard passes and we get first downs. And we just take the time possession, run out the clock. And what Bill Walsh did was also revolutionary. He didn't really care for audibles. No, he was like, I'm going to have my play. I'm going to pick my best play, and I don't care what defense you play. I'm picking my best play against your play. Oh, hey, if you're blitzing and I picked a run that play, I'm still running it. I'm picking my best play against your play, which is just absurd to do. But West Coast offense all the way over deep passing. It didn't work out in the Super Bowl for the Dolphins, and we won 33-18. Well, I hope you choose me as a finalist. I would love to debate you guys on national TV. I heard Stephen A. Smith said, oh, you want to come on national TV and debate us? You want to get schooled on national TV? Hell, Stephen A. Smith, I'll school you on national TV. I can take you. I can take you any day of the week. I don't get nervous. I don't get tired. I don't get nervous whatsoever, and I'll school you right on TV. I don't need a laptop. I don't need notes. Use your laptop all the time. Hey, I'll probably have one piece of paper in front of me. I don't need to look on the internet like you do and search last minute for things. Well, hope you pick me. And goodbye.